Now, in September 1971, the band released Future Games with the title song written by Welsh. This album was different from anything the band had ever done previously. In 1972, 6 months after the release of Future Games, the band released Bare Trees, which featured Welsh song Sentimental Lady. The song was a big hit for Welsh 5 years later when he re-recorded it for his solo album French Kiss. Christine McVie also sang on the remake and was the producer of the song. Now, things started going south with Fleetwood Mac and Bob Welsh early on in 1972. The band was comfortable with playing in the studio, but tours started to be problematic. Lead guitarist Danny Kirwan had developed an alcohol dependency and by 1972 was becoming alienated from Welsh and the rest of the band. Welsh had enormous respect for Kirwan's talents as a guitarist, singer, and songwriter. He later described Kirwan as a brilliant musician. And in the 16 months that he and Kirwan were together at Fleetwood Mac, they had a productive musical partnership. But Mick Fleetwood recalled that they were different people, they were different musicians. On a personal level, Fleetwood said, there was friction between them, and Welsh, an outgoing Californian, found Kirwan to be withdrawn, insecure, and difficult to communicate with. He also suspected that Kirwan did not appreciate his musical style. Welsh was quoted to say, "I think Danny thought I was too clever a player, too jazzy, too many weird notes, and I don't feel he loved my stuff to death." In 1999, Welsh and Kirwan had been a talented, in 1999, Welsh said Kirwan had been a talented, gifted musician, almost equal to Pete Green in his beautiful guitar playing and faultless string blends, but commented in a later interview that Danny wasn't a very lighthearted person, to say the least. He probably shouldn't have been drinking as much as he did, even at his young age. He was always intense about his work, as I was, but he didn't seem to ever be able to distance himself from it and laugh about it. In other words, he was just too high-strung. Now, before a concert on a U.S. tour in August of 1972, a backstage argument between a drunken Kirwan and Welsh resulted in Kirwan smashing his guitar, trashing his dressing room, and refusing to go on stage. Having reportedly smashed his head bloody on a wall, Kirwan watched the band struggle through the set without him. Because remember, Kirwan was the lead guitarist. Welsh was trying to cover his guitar parts, and Welsh remembered, I quote, "I was extremely pissed off, and the set seemed to drag on forever." The band fired Kirwan, and the artistic direction of Fleetwood Mac was left to the hands of Bob Welsh and Christine McVie. Fleetwood said later that the pressure had become too much for Kirwan, and he had suffered a breakdown. Over the next 3 albums Fleetwood Mac released, they constantly changed lineups around the core of Mick Fleetwood, the McVies, and Welsh. Kirwan was replaced with Savoy Brown as lead singer and Dave Walker and Bob Weston on lead guitar. Both Walker and Weston played on the Penguin album. That was released in January of 1973, and the album reached 49 on the Billboard Top 200 album chart in the United States. This album contained songs Bright Fire and Revelations, written by Welsh. The Mystery to Me album contained Welsh song Hypnotized, which earned significant FM radio play in the U.S. However, as a result of an aborted tour, Mystery to Me only reached 67 in the United States. Internal stress caused by lineup changes, touring, and the deterioration of McVie's marriage, which was exacerbated by John McVie's alcoholism, and an affair between Weston and Mick Fleetwood's wife, Jenny Boyd, were debilitating to the band. Weston was sacked, and the band wanted to cancel an upcoming tour in the U.S. Think about it. These folks, their job is to make music. So you've got to think of music. You've got to write the music. You've got to mix the music. You've got to decide how you're going to do it. And this is just not one person. This is, 5? Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, Christine McVie, Bob Welsh. So 4. Okay. And then 5. 5 is Weston, Bob Weston. And among that, you've got John McVie and Christine McVie, members of the band, going through marital problems. And then you got your lead guitarist and vocalist banging the wife of the drummer. I mean, it's horrible. How can anybody manage with this chaos? Well, the answer is they didn't. The band's manager, Clifford Davis, said, no, we're not canceling the tour. And the band said, yeah, we're canceling the tour because there's too much going on. Well, Davis then said, look, you don't own the Fleetwood Mac name. I do. And then in a letter to the remaining Fleetwood Mac members, Davis detailed his plans of making the band into a new star-quality headlining act, essentially firing all the band members, but offering them jobs back with his new band. Welsh and the other band members just ignored Davis' endeavor. Davis then set up a U.S. tour with a new group of musicians without Fleetwood Mac's consent, and they billed the new band as Fleetwood Mac. None of the new musicians had ever played any previous incarnation of the band. Davis announced falsely that Welsh and John McVie had quit Fleetwood Mac and that Fleetwood and Christine McVie would be joining the new band at a later date. The original members of Fleetwood Mac obtained an injunction preventing the fake Fleetwood Mac from touring under the name, while Davis obtained an injunction preventing the original band members from touring. The lawsuits resulted in the ultimate aborted tour, and it put Fleetwood Mac, both of them, out of commission for almost a year. What a nightmare. And that's what I mean by the politics of the music business. I mean, you see this all over. But when you read about it, you think to yourself, how could they ever get through something like this? Now, during this time in limbo, Welsh stayed in Los Angeles and connected with entertainment attorneys. Welsh believed the band was being neglected by Warner Brothers, who was the parent company of their label, Reprise Records. And he convinced the band to move to Los Angeles. Rock promoter Bill Graham wrote a letter to Warner Brothers to convince them that the real Fleetwood Mac were in fact Mick Fleetwood, Bob Welsh, and the McVies. While this did not end the legal battle, the band was able to record as Fleetwood Mac again. Now, instead of getting another manager, Mick Fleetwood decided to manage it himself. And that's when they took off. After the courts ruled that the Fleetwood Mac name belonged to Mick Fleetwood and John McVie only, the two band members set up their own band management company, CD Management. Clifton Davis was out. In 1974, Welsh was the only guitar player in the band. Warner Brothers had made a new deal with Fleetwood Mac, releasing the album Heroes Are Hard to Find on Reprise Records in September 1974. The album became the band's first to reach the top 40 in the U.S., peaking at 34 on the Billboard charts. The subsequent tour would be Welsh's last with Fleetwood Mac. The problem was Welsh was suffering with personal and professional issues. His marriage was failing. He felt he had exhausted his creativity with the band. Later, he explained that he felt estranged from John and Christine McVie, yet still close to Mick Fleetwood, with whom, he asserted, was running the band in 1974. Welsh resigned from Fleetwood Mac in December 1974 and was replaced by Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks. That's an important decision by Welsh. I mean, when Welsh quit the band, they were a pretty successful band, but he thought he could do better than this. He was taxed out. He didn't want the drama anymore, so he just quit. And Lindsey Buckingham and Stevie Nicks took the band to new heights. Did Welsh make another bad choice? It seems like he did. Now, on the Fleetwood Mac albums that Welsh appeared, American album sales totaled 500,000 units shipped. For Future Games, 1 million for Bare Trees, and 500,000 for Mystery to Me. Nice numbers, okay? Now, the Buckingham Nicks version of Fleetwood Mac achieved superstar status, not just star status, but superstar status, with the albums Fleetwood Mac, 1975, and Rumors, 1977, both reaching number one in the U.S. Rumors shipped 40 million units. 40 million. Okay, compared to 500,000, 1 million, and 500,000. That was worldwide. And it still remains to this day to be one of the most successful albums ever released. By the 1990s, Welsh's once diplomatic relationship with Fleetwood Mac had become acrimonious. In 1994, Welsh sued Fleetwood, the McVies, and band attorney Michael Shapiro and Warner Brothers. The reason he sued them is he sued them for breach of contract related to the underpayment of royalties. Previously, Welsh and the band had signed a contract with Warner Brothers, agreeing to an equal share of all royalties from their Fleetwood Mac albums. Welsh alleged in the lawsuit that the members had later made new deals with Warner Brothers for higher royalty rates, and neither Fleetwood nor the McVies had told Welsh about it, so they were cheating him out of royalties. That lawsuit was settled in 1996. When Fleetwood Mac was inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1998, the original band members, Peter Green, Jeremy Spencer, Danny Kerwin, Mick Fleetwood, and John McVie, were named to the band in the Hall of Fame, as well as Christine McVie, Lindsey Buckingham, and Stevie Nicks. Welsh, who anchored the band for several years and 5 albums, was not named in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. Now, Welsh felt the recent legal battle with the band soured the committee's decision to include him. Welsh told the Cleveland Plain Dealer, "My era was the bridge era with the band. And it was in transition, but it was an important period in the history of the band. Mick Fleetwood dedicated a whole chapter of his biography to my era of the band and credited me with saving Fleetwood Mac. Now they want to write me out of the history of the group. It hurts. Mick and I co-managed the group for years. I'm the one who brought the band to Los Angeles from England, which put them in a position of hooking up with Lindsey and Stevie. I saw the band through a whole period where they barely survived, literally." That interview with the Cleveland Plain Dealer is very accurate. Now, in 2003, an online question and answer session on the Fleetwood Mac fan site, The Penguin, Welsh revised his opinion about the exclusion. He had recently visited Fleetwood Mac backstage at a show and reconnected with Mick Fleetwood. Welsh no longer blamed the band for his exclusion. He instead blamed the Hall's committee and industry insiders, stating that they did not like his style of music. And to their point, the band was definitely different without Welsh than it was with Welsh. But then why did they include Kerwin and Green and all the others at the very beginning of the band? So it doesn't ring true. Welsh also maintained that the lawsuit was a factor, as it prevented him from contacting Mick Fleetwood because they were still estranged at the time of induction. So had the lawsuit not been going on, and had he been able to talk to Mick Fleetwood, maybe he would have bent Fleetwood's ear, Fleetwood would have influenced the committee, and Welsh would have been involved in the band's induction. After leaving Fleetwood Mac in 1975, Welsh formed the short-lived hard rock power trio Paris with ex-Jethro Tull bassist Glenn Cornick and former Nas drummer Tom Mooney. Paris released 2 commercially unsuccessful albums called Parish and Big Town 2061. Hunt Sales later replaced Mooney until the group disbanded. In a 1979 interview with People magazine, Welsh said that the 2 Paris albums were ill-conceived. The band's lack of success drained Welsh's finances until he only had $8,000 left to his name. So by 1979, Welsh was, for all intents and purposes, broke. Mick Fleetwood then started managing Welsh's career. In fact, he managed it